into the vertical plane.
Book review. American Nerd, The Story of My People by Benjamin Nugent. I did not think I would write a review of this book. I've started reading dozens of books like American Nerd, but in all honesty, it is the rare one that I actually finish. Even though I'm a huge fan of nonfiction, I'm not really a fan of diatribe. If it feels to me that an author has written a book merely to prove some point, i.e. a 250-page rebuttal to a bad grade a college professor awarded them 10 years ago, I tend to sense it right away and stop reading. These texts seem to have some long paragraphs of argument, with little evidence and an absence of expert quotes and paraphrase. Either there has to be a great story woven into the text, i.e. Hackers by Stephen Levy, or there has to be some kind of personal element added to the mix that begs me to finish the text, like Candy Freak by Steve Almond. When I started reading American Nerd, my diatribe sensor instantly went off. Nugent spends the first few chapters exploring the etymology of the word nerd by finding cultural and literary references from the past 150 years. Surprisingly, though, just as the text starts to enter the diatribe mode, Nugent changed subjects. At first I was off-put by this. He seemed to be leaving out some key information that was necessary to tie it all together. For instance, in a section where he describes nerds and pop culture, he seems to jump to the nerd sketch from Saturday Night Live and talk about it as if his audience can read his mind and understand all the connections he is making that are not actually on the page. Still, Nugent has surprises in store. As the pages turn, he weaves just enough evidence into his material to quench those he feels needs proof, and then he starts his journey. While he is not as specific at first as the actual quest that is embarked upon in a book like, again, Steve Almond's Candy Freak, Nugent nonetheless moves from pure academic exercise to one based on experience. He visits different cultural groups that are seen as nerdy, as he shows how both groups and their members are essentially the same. While his turn is surprising, the final twist is even better. Nugent finds a way to take this exercise to a very personal place. Without much elaboration, the author finds his true voice by the last few chapters, and the point of the entire book becomes readily apparent. While this in itself is a fulfilling experience, it is also a microcosm for the entire story he is trying to tell. In short, the whole process of trying to chronicle the American Nerd is a fairly nerdy exercise unto itself. I finished American Nerd, The Story of My People, and enjoyed it much more than I thought possible. Nugent covers some territory in the last few chapters that I do not believe I've ever read from another author. By the end, you realize that Nugent has not only written about what it means to be a nerd, but also the process in which a person tries to extract oneself from the cultural pit of that designation, and in turn, some of the guilt and shame that goes along with it. Even if Nugent did not know this when he set out, his whole experience is more common than he might believe. However, by being one of the first people to actually chronicle it, he sets himself and his book apart from anything remotely similar. For this, I highly recommend this book for anyone who listens to or views Into the Vertical Plane.
Into the vertical plane.
An 8-Bit Rocket Studios production.